Someone just joined the call. Let's see if that's Tim.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Goffstown School Board meeting. It is Monday, December 21st. I call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. If we can all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we start our Goffstown School Board meeting, we will have a hearing. The public is invited to call 603-766-5646. Enter participant code 685562. If you wish to make a public comment at the beginning of the meeting, please wait for the chair's instructions and then press the pound key. Your microphone will be unmuted and you'll be directed to state your name and address prior to making your public comment. You can also email your public comment to denise.morin@sau19.org prior to 4 o'clock of the meeting date. In the subject line, please indicate public comment, today's date, Goffstown School Board public hearing, and school board meeting. Please include your name and address and limit your comments to no more than 500 words. The board reserves the right to read your public comment during the meeting. However, any public comment will be included in the official meeting minutes. We do have a few board members calling in tonight. When I say your name, if you can just say you're here and alone. Dan Cloutier.
Here, and I'm alone.
Thank
on
you.
the phone.
Thank you, Dan. Ginny McKinnon
Here and alone.
and Tim Stetson.
Here, I'll look in my car.
Thank you, Tim. All right, so we're going to open up to the public hearing. Go ahead, Brian.
So I'll just give a little bit of an overview. This is similar to the last time we had a public hearing of this nature. We've been encouraged by the Department of Revenue Administration to allow the opportunity for the public to give input and to have it in the formal record that we have successfully held a public hearing. I did just want to note for the minutes that the meeting was properly posted and all the requirements for a public hearing were met. Essentially, this is the second batch of school supplemental public school funding. The board may recall the state had allocated a total of $10 million. We applied for probably about 340,000 or so, and we were successful, Mr. Gross, of
263,000 and change.
263,000. Thank you, Scott, for clarifying the number. Some of the things, Scott, some highlights of what that money will be used for, please.
Sure. So just for the public record, our application was for $390,652.48. We were awarded, when you do accept it, $263,732.47, of which, in terms of what we're doing with it, it's going to be, we're purchasing audio and visual and audio and video type equipment for the theater, as well as the gym and here at the high school, as well as the one at Mountain View. That will facilitate the recording and live streaming of events, whether it be athletic or any other co-curricular events. You heard last meeting from Principal McCann about a virtual performance, and again, that will go a long way in that regard. We are purchasing some equipment for facilities, auto scrubbers. Those are the things that you see where they either walk behind ones, or a lot of times you here at the high school that you see that they drive them. That helps us clean the building faster. So as you can imagine, we're trying to clean the building at greater frequency. So this allows us to pretty much do a much quicker job in terms of the floors. We've also purchased more of those backpack and handheld sanitizing devices. Trying to think what else we bought. I think it was more computers, just more IT related items as well.
Awesome. All right, so is that, you need a motion to accept it, or we're good?
Please.
All right, so we need a motion to accept, do you have a
I'll
question?
make a motion to accept the amount of $263,732.47 as presented.
Second. Thank you, Jared. Ellen, second. Any other questions before I do roll call? Okay, seeing none. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Let's see, Tim?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Dan?
You say Dan, I can, I'm having difficulty hearing you.
Okay, yeah, it's down there. I said Dan.
Yes.
Thank you. Ellen?
Yes.
And Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes, so we're unanimous. All right, thank you. Scott's moving the microphone. Thank you, Jared. Perfect, thank you. All right, so Scott, was there any public hearing or public comment?
No.
Okay, thank you. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
By Ellen, do I have a second?
Seconded.
By Jared, and we'll do a roll call. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
And Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes. All right, so we have adjourned from the public hearing, and now I will call to order the school board meeting at 7:07, and we do need to say the Pledge of Allegiance again.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we're going to start with the approval of the December 7th public hearing minutes. We'll do that one first. So I need a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
All right, so Tim and then Retta second. Did anybody see anything? All right, seeing none, I'll do roll call. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Tim? Tim?
Yes.
Thank you. Ginny?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ellen?
Abstain.
Okay. And Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes. So we have one abstention and the rest yeses. So we also need a motion to approve the school board meeting. Anybody motion?
I'll make that motion.
Retta?
So moved.
Who was that? Was that you, Tim?
That was me.
All right, so I'm having you second. Anybody see anything?
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, just for giggles.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
didn't get the minutes and I don't have an agenda. I don't know what happened.
Okay. All right, so maybe we can, I know we got you one, can we just forward him another one real quick? The agenda at least? Okay, we'll send you agenda.
Yeah, it's on the web.
That'd be great. Thank you.
It's on the website. It's on the website too, Dan.
I'll go look for it.
I'll send you the link.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. Oh, no. I just found it in my other email. But it says GSB meeting information. It didn't say agenda, so it threw me off.
Oh, yeah, it was everything on one. All right, so
Okay.
I have a motion and I have
My
a
fault.
second. I'm going to do roll call. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Dan?
Abstaining.
Okay. Ginny?
Yes.
Ellen?
Abstain.
And Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes. So that's 2 abstentions, Denise. All right, moving on to correspondence.
We do have a correspondent, the typical traditional correspondence folder today. I'm a little hesitant to send it around because people probably ought not to be handling this. Essentially, they were all of the nominations for the Maple Ave decorated door contest that they held. If you're interested in seeing pictures, they're on the Facebook page for Maple Ave. The kids and the teachers did a really nice job decorating the doors, and it was fun to walk around and kind of check them out. So we do have those pictures, but they're also on Facebook. So the folder's here if anyone would like it, but otherwise you could just see it online.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Commendations, good news. Caleb?
Yes. So first, I'd like to congratulate the Goffstown High School Ethics Club. 2 Saturdays ago, they participated in the Ethics Bowl Invitational event on Saturday, December 12th, and they won it.
Nice.
They beat Central and White Mountain Regional High Schools, and it was a preparation event for the full competition in January 2021. I'd also like to commend members of the GHS Performing Arts for the performance at the New Hampshire All-State Editions. Representing Goffstown are Emily Hughes, Emily Hohenadel, Fahim Ahmed, and Sam Conley in the mixed choir, Veronica Iredale and Lily Hazelbaker in the treble choir, Murray McKay in the All-State Band, and Gavin Palmer in the All-State Orchestra. Fahim Ahmed and Emily Hohenadel also received 4-year awards for their continued excellence at the All-State level through all 4 years of high school. Finally, I would like to commend Aaron Silvestri for his creation of the 100-cent challenge. It's happening this week at Goffstown High School. In lieu of the canned food drive, which we're unable to do this year because of the coronavirus, he brainstormed this fundraising event to donate money to the Goffstown Food Network.
Nice. Thank you, Caleb. Anyone else with commendations, good news? All right, seeing none, move on to public comment. Scott?
There's no one on public comment at this point.
No one on public comment. All right, perfect. All right, so we'll move on to our committee reports. Scott, that's you.
Sure. First off is your manifest, and the manifest for tonight totals $394.99, of which your payroll taxes and benefits are over $1.2 million. Your special ed activity is Durham Transportation is the largest one. That is your special ed transportation for November. And then you'll see the typical providers that you do every month. General expenses, you see quite a few of those. The first one is Goffstown Truck Center. That was almost $240,000. Note that was for both November and December. SAU 19 is your assessment for December, totaling nearly $160,000. And now we start to get into some of these grant purchases that we've been talking about over the last couple of months. Dell Corporation, we spent over $103,000 for that. IXL Learning, this is an educational software. Again, this was grant funded through ESSER Cares. It was a 3-year software package, and it's for a whole host of different subjects as part of our curriculum, and it allows teachers an online resource for homework and for just supplemental type learning. BMO Harris Bank, that's the credit card that we use. That was another, we used that to buy more laptops, $34,500. You'll see more laptops from Dell Corporation, again, grant funded. And we had to, in some of these cases, we had to procure these things in bits and pieces because we couldn't get some large enough orders. So that's why you're seeing some of them paid for by credit card, some going directly through Dell, et cetera. Music Factory, I just mentioned that, as that was part of the last grant, and that's to upgrade some of the sound at the theater. What else do we see here? Gov Connection, those were licenses, also grant funded. And other than that, our LED lighting project, which, by the way, is going to start this week and next week. So it's going to be done, the installation is going to take place over Christmas break, but the materials are being delivered as we speak. And that was through the Energy Management Corporation. That was a little over $8,400. And then Intrado is your school messenger. That's the service that the superintendent uses to notify the community of different things. Performance Food Service, we do have a payable there over $5,000. That was for over $6,600. And those are, more or less highlights of your manifest for tonight.
Thank you, Scott.
Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Scott? All right, so I need a motion to approve this manifest.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve a manifest in the amount of $2,162,394.99.
Thank you, Dan. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Ellen
Second.
All right, so Ellen second. Ellen did the second. All right, anybody else have any comments, discussion before I do roll call? All right, seeing none. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes, so we're unanimous. All right, thank you, Scott. Go, you have more?
Yeah, the next topic on your agenda is the New Hampshire Public School Infrastructure Grant, and it says grant signatures. The state requires the board members to approve the grant, or I should say, approve the conclusion of the grant so that we can get our reimbursement from the state. And there are 4 projects that are ready for your approval, full approval for reimbursement. The first one is a central access system. So you'll recall that we got this grant last July, and the installation is nearing completion. And that total project is going to be $150,882.79. What that does is almost, I think, all of our buildings, with the exception of this one, and it'll be partially Goffstown High School, it'll be a key fob type system, access control with electronic strikes. Soft phones, you'll recall, we did get a grant for this, but we also needed additional licenses, and that we were able to use the SPSRF fund for those. But the grant that we're going to be accepting, or seeking reimbursement for, is the $17,601.60. We were able to secure a grant for a gate at Maple Avenue School. That would make sure that folks don't drive their vehicles around back, because we have portables and we have kids playing. That was for $13,588. And then lastly was the visitor management system. We talked about this last time around. This is, there is a kiosk in all of our schools with cameras so that when people come in, their picture is taken, it prints out their ID badge, stores their, it kind of takes the place of the clipboard. All of that information is historically kept. There is the ability to use it for other things in terms of scanning a license, but we're waiting on legislative approval for that. So that was for $24,024. So in total, you would be accepting all 4 public school infrastructure fund projects as complete, and authorizing the signature of said documents by the superintendent and the school board.
All right, thank you, Scott. So, go ahead, Jared.
Just a quick question on Scott. So you're saying all 4 of those projects are complete, none of them are in process, expected to be complete?
That's right.
Okay.
So you need a motion?
Yes, need a motion for the board to, that's what I'm looking for, to accept the projects as complete, and to sign and to have the superintendent and the board provide signatures as such for the reimbursement process to be initiated.
Okay, so someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
So Ellen will make that motion. Do we have a second? By Retta. All right, any other discussion before I do roll call? Okay, seeing none. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes, so we're unanimous on that. All right, thank you, Scott. And you're all set, right, Scott?
Yes.
All right, Jared, Budget Committee.
Budget Committee, we completed our town, shouldn't say assessments, town evaluations for their budgets, and those have moved to public hearing, which is noted in your agenda for January 12th. That is a Tuesday at 7 p.m. Just a question, it says remote on here. The last time I was told it was going to be in the GHS high school.
Yeah, that has
Gymnasium.
since changed.
Has changed.
There was a polling of budget committee members along with the discussion that the town and the school administrators had, and not, how do I put it? Jared, you were there when we had difficulties getting a quorum for remote, so we thought that we would play it safe and do it remotely. And the way that will work is we're going to be using budget committee members. We'll use I'm going to send out a Zoom invitation to budget committee members, and we're going to use the school's conference call bridge line, the one that we're using right now. That'll be for the public to call in on. And it accommodates 250 callers. So considering that our public hearings have had less than 25 people, we should be good.
I would like to point out that this is a prime opportunity for those members of the public to call in to the budget committee and to express their dismay on the $20,000 cut to our substitution line, or substitutes line, that was used. I believe it was 20,000. Again, we're having trouble right now funding our substitutes during COVID with other school systems being 100% remote. And I think that if we were able to boost some of those substitute pay on a temporary basis, we would get qualified and extremely capable substitutes to assist us with our needs here in the school system. So I do ask the public to call in often and call in many times during that public session to try to restore some of our funding.
Thank you, Jared. So everybody get that? January 12th, it's a Zoom. Go ahead, Ellen.
How do we, are we going to be here or
No, you'll be at home with your
And
laptop.
video?
Yeah, like we've done Zoom meetings when we've done the
Okay.
SAU.
Okay,
So you'll be home. Scott will send you the invite. You'll get on your laptop and connect.
God, I just imagine if it's a town budget meeting, so they will be zooming in, but are the public looking to call into our network?
Yeah.
So will the public be
Well, we're
video,
gonna-
or will just completely be audio?
The public will only be audio, and we're going to be using the school's bridge line for both the school
Okay.
and the town's portion of this public hearing.
Very good, thank you.
And
Go ahead, Dan.
Heather,
Yes, go ahead.
I'm presuming members of the school board will also be public.
Yeah.
I'm not Zoom, because this is a budget committee meeting. This is not a school board meeting.
That is correct, Dan.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you, Dan. All right, so you're all set, Jared?
Do we need, just because I imagine many of us might be calling in, it will be a public session, and as Dan says, we don't need to actually list out that if 5 people are on a call, we don't have to have a notice for that, correct?
What happened, the posting itself will be per the governor's executive order, allowing for it to be a remote meeting of the budget committee. So Dan, what Dan said before is absolutely correct. This is a budget committee meeting that is a public hearing, very similar to what you held tonight for the acceptance of a grant. So the same rules apply. As long as they have a quorum via Zoom, they are good to go.
Thank you, Scott. I was more worried about if 5 members of the school board call in,
Right.
would that
Yeah,
constitute?
we're good.
We're good?
We're going to be good, Jared, yeah, because what happens is when 5 of us show up at a public hearing, that's the budget committee, which we have done in the past, we don't have to notice it because of what it is. It's like a chance meeting, and we're not meeting. We're just members of the public being there. We try not to sit together when that happens,
Dan, as always, I
but then it
appreciate,
would look like a meeting.
yeah, Dan, I appreciate
how do
your
we not-
guidance.
Yeah.
All right. So you're all set then with budget committee, Jared?
Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have one more comment, Heather.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
If, now that's on the 12th of January, our next meeting then would be the following Monday, right?
Yes.
If I'm looking, okay, that would give us the opportunity to modify our vote to recommend or not recommend if we so choose, if there would be a change to a dollar amount.
Correct. We have a meeting January 18th.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just building off that, there was a change to what we provided to the budget committee, so we would have to have a vote on that regardless for our proposed budget.
I thought we did.
Yeah,
I thought we accepted it. I thought we accepted the budget committee's change.
we did.
He did.
Did? Okay.
Yeah.
He did.
All right.
We just haven't gone through for the, to either recommend or not recommend.
That's accurate.
Right,
So you haven't
so-
taken that vote to recommend or not recommend.
Oh,
Right.
so we should expect that vote is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, so moving on to policy review. We have not met since last time. Our next meeting is January 25th at 5:30 at the SAU building as of right now. If anything changes, I'll let you know. C&E. Retta, do you want to speak to that since Ginny's, oh, Ginny, you're here.
Yeah, Ginny's here.
Ginny,
I'm here.
C&E.
Hi, I'm here. We have not met since our last meeting, and I believe our next meeting is to be announced.
January 25th.
Okay, January 26th. Thank you.
25th at 7.
25th at 7. Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, Brian, superintendent report.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. A number of things to update the board on this evening. The first thing is, you probably saw that today there was some movement down in Washington on the $900 billion COVID stimulus bill. So this looks like it has bipartisan support, and we would anticipate this going to the president for approval. This bill has $82 billion for K-12 schools and colleges. So I did want to let the board know this is substantially larger than the last federal relief that we received through the corona stimulus bill. And at this point, we don't really have any details. Scott and I were both looking for as many details as we could find, and right now the details are lacking. But I did want the board to be aware that $82 billion is reported to be going to K-12 schools as well as colleges. I wanted to let everyone know that our MOU with our 2 unions in Goffstown has been fully executed, and I do want to just share language from the agreement as I talk about snow days. So the GEA, this is language from the MOU. The GEA, which is the Goffstown Education Association, agrees to add up to 3 professional development days to the school calendar in exchange for 3 student school days. The last day of school will be June 16th, 2021, without accommodating for unanticipated school closures, during which remote instruction is not possible or allowable by the Department of Education. I share that language with you so that we can talk about snow days, inclement weather, and shifting to remote instructional days. We started this process with our unions back in the summer. So in June, we were meeting, we were talking about these things. The board may recall that Governor Sununu allowed us to essentially trade 3 days of the 180 school day year for professional development days for schools to get ready to reopen. We did that, but to do that, we had to have an agreement with our unions. So it is the position of both the GEA and the GESS that they very much support us moving to remote instructional days. And there's a lot of thinking that goes into this. One being that when we get to the end of the year, we're hoping that we're going to have had the opportunity to get the vaccine, that people will have the ability to have a little more normalcy and hopefully get back to being with friends and family. And the other piece is, because we had never really moved into a remote instructional model, we have never supported the so-called blizzard bags. This is something that many other districts had done in the past. I was very publicly skeptical about this for many, many years. All it took was a global pandemic for me to shift my thinking on this. I have been saying since about August that I anticipated that we would not have snow days and that we would move to having remote days during inclement weather. We don't typically have an awful lot of snow days. I think everyone knows that I tend to be a little, probably more, I tend to want to go to school when many other districts would close over a couple of inches of snow. So I would say, in general, I think we're a little hardier. We have a better understanding probably of the weather than some other school districts. So I do support shifting to remote days. And if we didn't do so, there are some implications that we would need to discuss further with respect to the MOU. But I did just want to make sure I understand that there was a lot of strong opinions on each side of this. Snow day decisions always are controversial. I will have people tell me it was the best decision I ever made and also the worst decision I've ever made. So I've learned over the years that, you know, there are going to be strong opinions on both sides of this. I think at this point, certainly people, we can discuss this further as a board. I did want to just pause and give the opportunity to have further discussion, but I do support shifting to remote days. If we had widespread power outages, we would not do that. If we had internet connectivity issues, we would not do that as well. But I might pause there and just see if there's any conversation that the board would like to have before I continue.
Does anybody have any comments, questions? Go ahead, Alan.
It seemed that, I happen to like the idea of the remote instead of the snow day personally, but it seemed like a lot of parents had difficulty with, they had to go to work, they had to find, it was just very difficult for many families to navigate the child needing to be on the computer and once or twice a day at a specific time being in a Zoom classroom with their teacher. I don't know, have we gotten any feedback from the staff? Have parents called in or notified? I mean, there was a lot on the local Facebook pages of parents being quite, I guess, put off about it and the difficulty with the kids.
We did not receive that feedback.
Nothing, you did not?
No,
Okay. How about teachers?
I think I had 3 parents email me that they were upset. I'm sure I'm not inviting more. I'm sure that there were more people, but I also had parents email me in support of a remote day. So again, this is one of those things, it's a cultural shift.
Yep.
So I think it's one of those things that people kind of look at snow days as kind of a rite of passage. You know, there was still plenty of time to get outside and enjoy fresh air and be in the snow on that day. So I do feel it was the appropriate situation. In terms of parents who are working, I think it's probably arguably better to have structured activities throughout the day. If you're trying to work from home and you've got little kids that are home, I would rather personally have little kids that had scheduled activities, they had work to do, they had, but that would just be my opinion.
Yep.
But no, I would say we did not have parents that indicated that was challenging for them or the schedule or anything of that nature.
Okay. My impression, my personal impression was that this was something different during a stressful time anyway, with the pandemic and everything. My own personal thoughts is the kids know how to do this remote stuff. They're doing it all week, so even the youngest ones know how to get in, know how to get to their work, need some guidance, I would think, to keep them focused. I like the idea. I just, since we didn't hear from parents, and I'm kind of surprised, but I just wanted to voice my concern in that I heard from a number of parents that they found it very stressful to have to keep up with that and then work and whatever else was going on.
Well, and certainly there's no shortage of stress for all families during the pandemic. So I'm definitely sensitive to that. I do think looking at the prognosis for what June looks like, I think that right now people might have felt like they got cheated out of a snow day, but I think when it's sunny and warm and it's June and people have the vaccine and you can get out and do things again, so I would say that that would be my hope.
Good.
I just wanted to say from a student perspective, I was not one of the students in that cohort, but from those who talked to me, they were more curious than hostile going into it, and they were generally satisfied with the outcome. So,
Thank you, Caleb. Retta?
I'm wondering if, what we discovered over the last year is that not everybody has access to computers and, connectivity to the internet, and we made accommodations by getting laptops out. Will this continue into the future, or how do you accommodate those that don't have internet access?
I think that's a really fascinating question, Retta. And in fact, I was speaking with Mr. McBride and Mrs. McCann today about the online academy that we have had a lot of success for students who are fully remote. I think we're going to have some really hard decisions from a board perspective and an administrative perspective about what do we keep coming out of the pandemic, what do we change, what kinds of things do we decide that, you know, we want to keep certain platforms or programs, and I think that's going to be one of them. We've used a lot of the special grant money that we've gotten to procure devices to help loan out and support families. So I think we've done a good job taking care of our people who had those needs.
Go ahead, Terry, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, is the concern around the equipment and access, or is the concern around the students' responsibility to get on?
For the snow day?
Yes.
I did not look at the Facebook page, but apparently there were a lot of comments.
Okay.
So, you know, and again, I received correspondence from just a few parents.
Okay.
So, you know, I didn't see the Facebook page, so I'm not a user of social media, and I choose not to engage in that. So I actually don't know what was said on Facebook.
Oh, sorry, just for the parents you did interact with.
The parents, they just basically said that kids should have snow days.
Okay.
And they felt that it was going to be a day that kids should be out playing in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Actually think that maybe wasn't the best day to be out playing in the snow, given the temperature, given the wind, given the, 2 to 4 inches per hour of accumulation during the height of the storm. But, and I can understand that. I certainly grew up in New Hampshire and loved snow days, but I also have been in this school district when we've gone until June 30th. And that is no fun.
No. Okay.
No
Ellen,
fun.
go ahead, I saw your hand up.
I wish we had some teacher feedback with regard to how many children participated and did their work and all, but I can tell you I had the opportunity in one circumstance to see what the day was like, how it was scheduled for a given child, and the Zoom meetings, and I don't think a teacher could have done any better and made the day more productive, including unified arts, for the cohort for her classroom. It was beautifully done, and I can only assume that all our teachers were just as diligent in putting together the day. And you can't always tell when there's going to be a snow day or a remote snow day, but the kids were pre-prepared for it coming because they had had a day in school, and they went to it. Did their work. I thought it was very well done. I can understand parents having some difficulties, but I'm sorry.
Continuing on?
Thank you, Ellen. Jared had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was a major proponent of saying that, snow days will probably be going away with what we've learned over the past year. I think that that's the right thing so that we can get out earlier and start our summer vacations a little bit earlier. I believe the superintendent and the staff made the right call. I think, and this is one of those I think moments, I think that people just have screen fatigue with being online for half of our week. So I believe that there might be an opportunity where we might want to just pump the brakes on doing remote days when we're still doing remote learning, just because of that screen fatigue that's happening. But I do think that going forward into next year and beyond, I think that we'll have an opportunity to get our blizzard bags the day before for a potential snowstorm, and I think that there'll be less stress from the parents' perspective.
Thank you, Jared.
Okay, I'll continue. I wanted to make sure that everyone knew the date for deliberative session for Goffstown is Saturday, January 30th, 2021, and I believe that's at 10 a.m., and we're anticipating doing that in the high school gym. I wanted to let you know we've had some increases in some of the courses for Goffstown High School for our online academy, and at this point met with Mrs. McCann, and we are looking at the potential need of some additional teaching sections. So I'm going to be working with her and looking at the possibility of 2 additional staff members to make sure that the class sizes are appropriate. Food services, our great team, Mrs. Bizzaro and her wonderfully dedicated staff in the kitchens have been working incredibly hard, and they gave out meals today. And Mr. Gross, I thought it was a typo when I first saw the number, but she gave out I think the equivalent of 2 weeks worth of food for
Yes.
all of the patrons that she has, and it was 3,800 meals that they gave out which is really pretty incredible. So again, many of the unsung heroes of this school district during this pandemic have been the folks who work in our kitchens, and I'm just greatly appreciative. I have mentioned in the past that we are anticipating reductions in our free and reduced lunch adequacy when we get our adequacy grant for next year. That is something that I do just want the board to be aware. We're anticipating some reductions in adequacy. Jared, you had a question about needing to be on campus to enter grades. I did some digging on that, and that was exclusively related to report cards. So it wasn't any normal kinds of grades. And there is an option to do a secure email. So I think that people had a couple of options, but I think maybe they thought it was easier to just actually go and do that. But I did want to let you know that was only so for at the elementary level and the middle school level, we're on trimester. So it's 3 times a year that I wanted to just let you know I followed up on that. The board may recall that there was a lot of discussion last year around the state accepting $46 million in charter school money. This ended up being a very partisan battle in the House and the Senate. It does look like that's moving forward. That'll be money that's available for specific areas over a multiple year time period for districts or for private entities to apply for charter school funding. So I did want to let you know about that. I followed up on Jared's other idea around increasing pay for substitutes. I've had some preliminary discussions with our HR director, and she has some concerns about making sure that we're competitive but not too competitive. We need to make sure that we're not paying substitute teachers more than we're paying our paraprofessionals. So we're still working on that a little bit, but I did want to let you know that I followed up on that. I also followed up, and I'm sorry this is kind of a long report. I have invited all of our members of the General Court, so Senator D'Alessandro and all of our members of the House have been invited to our meeting in January, which is I think that 18th meeting, which will be a fully remote meeting so that we can accommodate all of them. I think I heard back from almost all of them, and it looks like we're going to have a good turnout, so I think that'll be productive for us. Also in January, we'll be having a joint area meeting, and the date of that escapes me, but I know that whoever's represented on that I think we've given you those dates, so I wanted to let everyone know that that was going to be coming. It's going to be a big discussion because our area agreement with New Boston expires in 2024. So we're at the point where we need to be doing the pre-planning that goes in. There are certain legislative requirements that you have to do 2 years by statute before the expiration of the agreement. So we are working on that. I will now shift and talk a little bit about COVID, and then I'm going to share my screen up on the screen behind me, and I'll show you a new section on our website. I can go through, let me just get this up here. So this is the variables to move between phases, and I hope everyone can see this. I'm not going to get into as much detail as I normally do about this, but the first thing I want to talk about is right here. It's the vaccine. So last week I participated in a number of emergency management calls. They are in the process right now of getting phase 1A, which is all of our first responders, frontline healthcare workers, vaccinated, so police, fire. School nurses are part of Group 1A. So our school nurses, their information has been submitted to be put into the registration for the vaccine. There's a 1A and then there's a 1B. 1B is people in long-term care facilities, as well as people who are, I believe, over age 75 and people who have other certain health considerations. Educators are phase 2. So at this point, we are anticipating, we have not been given any information from DHHS or the DOE about when to expect or what to expect. But I am absolutely pushing for and advocating for that if we value keeping schools open, teachers and all support staff should have the opportunity to make an individual decision if they want to get the vaccine or not. So I'm hoping that we're going to know more about that. But one thing that's really important for the board to know, the Pfizer vaccine has only been approved for individual age 16 or older. and the Moderna vaccine is 18 and over. So right now, there's no vaccine for children. So I don't know if that's forthcoming. I don't know if they're working on other approvals. I don't know if they're working on vaccines that might be for children. But I do want you to know at this point, without any kind of a vaccine or any indication that a vaccine for children is going to be available, we could be dealing with COVID restrictions and contact tracing and transmissibility across our schools for some time to come. So I will continue to watch that very, very carefully, but if that wasn't something that's on your radar, I wanted it to be. Looking at the numbers, and really not to belabor this, I think everyone knows the numbers are not good. 6,688 active cases in New Hampshire, which is a case count of 785 per 100,000. Positivity rating on testing is 9.1%. It wasn't all that long ago that we were below 2%, and we had 50 new cases a day. 764 per 100,000 in Hillsborough County. Goffstown is at 87, which is 447 per 100,000. New Boston is up to 27, which is the highest it's ever been, for a case count of 311 per 100,000. So everything at this point continues to be in the red. It's significant community transmission, as I think we're all aware. My staffing sheets, I've already shared these with you, so these are not new. We'll have new sheets next month when we look at December's data. So I'm gonna skip that right now, and I'm gonna shift to our website.
Excuse me,
Now-
Brian. I just want to let those who are watching on TV, Darryl cannot, when he shows the screen, it's only showing white. So that's why the camera is on you, not on the screen, because it's not showing up.
Okay, well,
Okay.
this information is on the website, so anyone who wants to see what I'm about to present can just go to the website and look.
Thank you.
The Department of Ed and DHHS has a school dashboard that I've shown you in the past and I've talked about. The information is not accurate, and it's not being updated in a timely way. So to that end, I have worked with Mrs. Berry and the nurses and our IT staff, and we've created our own dashboard. So what you'll see here, if you go to the website and click on the information, what did I call it? Summary data. We have a total right now of 80 cases that we've had, and it's broken out by active cases, so 0 active cases at Bartlett, 0 active cases at Glen Lake, 9 active cases at Goffstown High School, 0 active cases at Maple Ave, 4 at Mountain View, 2 at New Boston Central School. So a total thus far of 80 cases in total. And if we look at the, let me just go back. And then if I look at the COVID-19 data by case, this will pull up all the cases that we've had. So the information that I've typically shared with the board, I've now put this on the website, so anyone who wants to see every single case that we've had, what the dates were, and what the number of students that were impacted. And I would just highlight, for those of you who can't see, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cases that we've had did not result in any quarantining. So we're definitely seeing that people are staying out. People are keeping kids home if they've had family exposures, if they're waiting on tests, and we'll continue to do the work that we're doing. But I just wanted everyone to know that that data has been put up on the website and is available for anyone to take a look at, because I think the number, if you go to the DHHS school dashboard, I think they're reporting 30 total cases in Goffstown, and we're at 80. So they're off by a number of 50. So in the interest of keeping everyone up to date and informed, that information is available to the general public on our website. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I
Apologize
appreciate
for the
that.
long report.
No, that's good. That's a good report. Thank you.
Heather?
Yes, go ahead, Ellen.
You, Ryan, you gave us a date for deliberative session of what do you tell us?
January
January
30th.
30th. Is that going to be remote, in person?
In person, in the gym.
Okay.
And deliberative is a little different because we have to have members signed in and approved by the supervisors of the checklist.
Okay.
And we have to have the ability to vote. So we did talk, Ellen, I think while you were out, that there are a couple of options that the board could consider for a remote deliberative, but it involves sending out mailings to every registered voter in town. You have to have multiple public hearings. You can do like drive-by voting. We just thought that this was the way to go.
Yep.
And Mr. Gross and I have met with Mr. Horn from the town, and we've talked about this over the last, really probably 6 weeks or so, Scott. We've been
Yep.
talking about this.
Okay.
And that's at 10 in the morning.
10 in the morning on a Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so moving on to old
Sorry,
business.
one question.
Oh, sorry, Terry, go ahead.
That's okay, that's okay. Brian, you mentioned the 82 billion that potentially is coming available. Based on everything you know today, what have you and the district identified as the major needs, top 2 or 3 major needs that potentially could come out of that?
Well, the first thing is we've got to see, what we can use that money for. I think our needs continue to be technology related and probably personnel related. I think at this point, Scott, I think we've done a good job with cleaning and disinfecting equipment. We also have not budgeted for PPE to go into next school year. We had optimistically thought and hoped that the pandemic might be at a point where we didn't have to budget money for, extra sanitizing equipment or masks, some of those kinds of things. But those would be other potential needs. We have not budgeted for any PPE for next school year.
Okay.
Scott, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, Terry, what we were not allowed to do last go-around was to assist our food service enterprise, our fund. It's a separate fund. And last year, the school district had to use budget funds to assist the food service fund because they went into a deficit. The same thing holds true this year. So because most of our kids are getting free meals, we get a lot of our sales from a la carte sales. We get a lot of our sales from vending machines, et cetera. So probably in the next 2 to 3 school board meetings, I'm going to be coming to you asking for a similar encumbrance like we did last year for food service. That number, not to scare you too much, but that number is going to be easily $250,000, and it might be as high as $350,000. Because we're continuing to pay our food service workers, but we're just not getting, a lot of them. And please note, for those in the public, we had to essentially lay off a good number of food service workers because of this, but we do have many that are still working to provide for these meals. So that being said, if we can use that grant for food service, that would be phenomenal. The last go-around didn't allow us to do that. So that's the other big piece that we have.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, and as soon as we get more, we'll bring it to the board straight away.
Sure. Yeah, just
Yep.
perfect world scenario.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry. Yes, Retta.
Before we move on, did we want to give an update on PNC?
Oh, yes, that's not on here. Yes.
Yes. Just a quick update. PNC did meet this evening and will be bringing award nominations forward to the full board in non-public
Today?
Yes.
tonight. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Retta. All right, so if we're done with committee reports, we're going to move on to old business, which is a follow-up to performing arts. Scott?
Yeah, I provided with you a handout. Essentially, what I did was I took Assistant Principal Kim McCann's, one of her slides that showed what the need would be for the virtual musical, in which about $25,000 is needed for that whole 3 to 4 month process. That's what that production is, of which $9,700 is included in the budget. I believe it was Jared who asked for where would those other funds come from. So the top of that handout shows that I'd be taking $6,500 of the $14,100 in the field trip co-curricular transportation line. And then the balance of that would be $8,800 coming from co-curricular stipends, as there's money available in that line. So that would fully fund the virtual musical. Are there any questions on that?
Thank you, Scott. Anybody have any questions, comments? Go ahead, Ellen.
Do we have a status on the study that's been ongoing now for a few years with regard to stipends and the co-curricular and club costs and all this? Do we have any idea where that's at, or
They have
where
So
it's
that-
going?
that process essentially stopped with the pandemic, and we have not restarted that.
Okay.
And realistically, at this point, I don't know that our administrators have the time to be able to focus on that right now.
If I may?
Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
One other thing that it came up, I'm sorry, with the superintendent's report. I have a topic with regard to the area agreement that goes back to our building committee, and everything's been put on hold. But there is an option in there that we have not done a full study on that may or may not impact the area agreement. Not knowing the time sequence that things have to occur, I don't know where to take it from there. But I don't want to miss an opportunity that we may want to have a serious discussion on, but we put it on hold because building committee's, been on hold with the pandemic, and our administration been straight out with everything else that they need to do. I'm not too sure where to go with that, because I know that it's coming up in a couple of years, and I don't know
Right.
how to proceed with that.
Scott, I
Yeah,
saw your hand.
I think, Ellen, we can address, because it involves negotiations with the New Boston School District. If you wish, I think that the superintendent and myself can update you and the board as to what your point is,
Okay.
because there are means in which we can accomplish what you're talking about.
Okay, because I haven't asked for that data because you guys.
I understand, and we can talk about it in non-public, but
Okay.
I think I know where you're going, and I think
Okay.
we have an answer for you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Glad I
This
asked.
was, the GHS Performing Arts was, Kim McCann gave a presentation at the last board meeting. They wanted to do virtual theater, and we agreed to help them. So we wanted to know where the money was coming from. So that's what this
Okay,
is
thank
about
you.
tonight. So does anybody have any questions on this? We don't need to make a motion because we've already did that last time. This was just for an FYI. So if everybody's good with it, we'll move on to new business. Brian, Parks and Rec's proposal for basketball at the middle school?
Yes, thank you. So we've worked closely with Rick Wilhelmi, who is the director from Parks and Rec, and Mrs. Kohler has worked very, very closely with them. They've created a proposal to do a Parks and Rec sort of intramural type basketball program for middle school and Mountain View Middle School students only, Goffstown and New Boston residents in grades 5 through 8. So this is a program that kids would be able to sign up for. It would go from January 16th until March 21st. I apologize to our members at home. I can send this information to you after the meeting or after I conclude this, so you can see the document that I'm displaying right now. I asked Mr. Wilhelmi to put his proposal into the consistent framework with our reopening plan, so that's what you have in front of you. So he's worked very closely with Mrs. Kohler, and they've come up with a very, I would say, robust program that includes all of the communication elements that we would expect, the logistical elements around arrival, dismissal, how social distancing is going to occur, the use of masks, how equipment and areas are going to be sanitized, the ability for people to be in the gym. Spectators are going to be limited. There's going to be the opportunity for kids to be able to have Zooming going on so that people who can't attend are going to be able to watch. They've limited the number of players, the number of groupings. They figured out their cohorts. They've really done a pretty good job, I think, here. Mr. Gross was a part of this, and working with Mr. Huft as well. So they've really put together a comprehensive proposal that I'm very satisfied with, and I'm inclined to present my proposal that we accept this, and this has our support.
Just a quick clarification, Brian. So Parks and Rec is Goffstown residents first, then New Boston if there was room?
So he's,
And it says 5th through 8th of students, 5th and 6th don't come over from New Boston until 7th, so,
yeah, New Boston would only be in 7th and 8th for New Boston.
okay.
So
So no elementary and no high school? for
no
Parks and
elementary,
Rec?
no high school.
Okay.
He's not running those programs. So he was really just hoping to be able to have something for middle school students. They will only participate on the weekends, so the gym would be utilized on Saturdays and Sundays. It would all be very scheduled. There'd be cleaning in between. He really has put together, really, I think he's hit everything that he needed to hit. They've got contact tracing figured out if they have positive cases. I can scroll through this and just let you know, but in essence, I think that Mr. Wilhelmy put together a really good proposal with Mrs. Kohler's help.
Now, does he need an answer tonight? Because nobody's had a chance to read this.
I know that he was looking to start the 16th of January, but our next meeting is,
Till January 4th.
so if the board would like, I'm happy to email this to you, and you can review this and make a decision at that time.
What is
Heather,
that?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ginny.
Brian, is this in addition to Mount View basketball, or
Yes.
is this instead of Mount
This-
View basketball?
This is in addition to, so for Ginny, this is for the kids who might not have made the team, or kids who, might be playing at a little less competitive level. So this would be in addition to our school teams.
Okay, and who will be running and coaching these teams?
The Parks and Rec Department.
Okay.
Well, usually coaches are parent volunteers.
Yeah, parent volunteers. I do believe Mr. Wilhelmy is one of the officials, so I think he'll probably be there for a good chunk of the time anyhow, but I'll go ahead and I'll email this out to everyone, and you can take a look, and we'll plan to readdress this in January if that works.
If we needed to do it tonight, I think everybody would have liked to seen it ahead of time.
Okay.
Just for the future. Is everybody okay? Is January 4th okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody good with reviewing it? Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
January 4th. Okay, so now we are moving on to board authorization request. The first one is a board motion is needed to grant continued authorization to the superintendent under the superintendent's emergency operation plan for COVID-19 as a temporary regulation to policy EBCF, pandemic epidemic emergencies, and to grant the superintendent or his designee authorization to respond at his or her discretion to changing public health circumstances, and to allow the superintendent the ability to modify or adapt school policy as needed until the next successful school board meeting. So I need a motion
So moved.
by Jared. Do I have a
Second.
second? By Ellen. I'll do roll call. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Tim?
Dan, yes.
Oh, Dan? Tim?
Yes, for Dan.
Yes, I got you, Dan.
Thank you.
Looking for Tim. Tim, are you there? Okay, Tim's gone.
Yeah, he was in his car, so he may have dropped.
Okay. Ginny?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes. All right, the next one, what was that?
You called Janelle? I'm sorry.
Janelle's not here.
Oh,
So no, I didn't call her.
sorry about that.
That's okay. The next one is a motion to grant the business administrator authorization to make payments out of sequence and to notify the board of such payments at the next scheduled school board meeting. I need a motion for that.
Dan will make the motion.
Thank you, Dan. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Ellen. Do roll call. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes. Tim, you're not there, right? Okay, he must be gone. All right, so we're
Yeah,
unanimous.
he did drop off the line.
He did? Okay.
Yeah.
Do we know when he dropped off?
I have no idea, unfortunately.
Okay, I haven't heard from him. All right, so now we move on to school staffing.
You should have received in your packets for your approval. We have a number of co-curricular athletics for your approval. We have as a volunteer for the bowling program, Jordan Lewis, who is a alumni of that program. We have a volunteer of Ryan DeRusso. And we have boys basketball A team, Jim Hyzak. Boys basketball B team, Matt Marquis. Girls basketball A team, Sean Johnson. And wrestling, Dave Osborne. And those would be for your approval.
All right, so I
So
need it
moved.
by Ellen, makes the motion to approve. Do I have a second? By Retta. Anybody have any comments, questions? No? Okay, I'll do roll call. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes. All right, and then we just have the one not returning.
Yes,
That's
you don't have to
not-
do
we
anything with
don't
that.
do anything with
No.
that. All right, and the other business that may legally come before the meeting. Yes, Scott.
I forgot to remind board members that I sent via PandaDoc the 4 documents that you need to sign for that grant. So it is imperative that you sign it as soon as possible, because if I don't have that in by next week, then we don't get our money back. So, and it's every board member, unfortunately. You'll recall, we had this last year. Everybody's got to sign off on it. So if you could please do so. I sent Janelle a text message as well.
Oh,
on that.
yeah, I was just writing a note to remind her. All right, so if everybody can do that ASAP.
Yeah, I
that'd
really
be great.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
And-
Scott.
We will have out-of-sequence checks, just so you know, and I'll report back at the next school board meeting, because it's end of the year, and we try to close some things out. But more importantly, our vendors they're on a different fiscal year, and they want payment of
Okay.
things. And plus, there's all these grants that we're trying to process stuff, so there will be more payments before the end of this year.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Scott. All right, so we do have some non-public tonight. I'll need a motion to go into non-public session RSA 91-A, semicolon 3, 2, under A and C. A is the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the discipline of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a meeting. And then C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the public body itself, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to any application for assistance or tax.
So moved. Oh, I'm sorry, keep going.
Yep, no, you're good. By Ellen, makes a motion. Do I have a second? By
Dan will
Retta.
second.
All right,
Okay.
we'll do a roll call. Retta?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
And Heather, yes. So we are in non-public. We are going to take a break so GTV can take down all